Ahead of the first official dialogue on political reform between the Federation of Students and the government tomorrow, student leaders insisted today they won't back out of the Occupy movement until real progress is achieved.
Without a just explanation and concrete ideas of how to settle the current dispute, Hong Kong people will not retreat. Other non-cooperative actions launched by the students say the student strike will be continued. And the students will also go into different occupying areas to discuss with all the occupiers so as to see the next step and other concrete ideas of non-cooperative action so as to generate and put more pressure to the government.
The government, for its part, stressed once again Hong Kong's constitutional development must be carried out in accordance with the Basic Law and the National People's Congress Standing Committee's relevant interpretations. It urged different sectors of the community to discuss the complicated issue of constitutional development in a, quote, pragmatic, rational, and patient manner. It also expressed its sincerity in establishing dialogue and meetings with the Hong Kong Federation of Students.
Pressure continues to mount on Occupy protesters to remove those blockades. You are now looking at live shots from Admiralty and Mong Kok. Today, taxi and minibus drivers staged slow drive rallies to express their frustration with the ongoing occupation of roads. Meanwhile, government officials and a group of district councillors also tried to persuade protesters to reopen certain occupied areas. Owen Fung has more.
This morning, around 20 minibuses performed a slow drive from Shau Kei Wan to Causeway Bay. Drivers say their business has dropped by 70% as a result of the Occupy protest. The disgruntled drivers submitted a petition to the police in Causeway Bay, urging authorities to clear the blockades as soon as possible. Meanwhile, a group of taxi drivers also staged a slow drive today along Hennessy Road. They submitted a petition to the police, also calling on them to reopen roads. They say their business has suffered a 30% decrease, while adding that they're considering surrounding the protesters if the situation doesn't change. With the civil disobedience movement into its 12th day, the occupied zone in Queensway near Admiralty is largely empty. There are only a handful of protesters, mostly guarding the blockades. The number of protesters on Harcourt Road is also significantly less during the day in comparison with the crowd at night. Director of Home Affairs Pamela Tan went to Queensway today and tried to persuade protesters to reopen a portion of the highway. Tan said she has been receiving complaints from the public regarding the blocked roads. Occupy protesters have differing opinions on whether to reopen Queensway. This girl says she feels neutral about reopening some of the roads. This woman says she thinks the occupation should continue. The Hong Kong Federation of Students says they will not retreat until the government gives them reasons to do so.
Without any concrete things given by the government, it is totally impossible to persuade anyone to retreat from any places. Because the reason why they come out is that they would like to, well, they're there to sacrifice so as to strive for a better democratic reform.
Owen Fung, TVB News.
They would keep staying.
Classes have now resumed in all schools in Wan Chai, Central, and the Western District. Kindergarten children were able to go back to school today after more than a week of class suspension due to safety concerns surrounding the occupation of roads by protesters. This after secondary, primary, and special schools resumed classes earlier in the week. Traffic was heavy on some roads this morning, and many parents said they had to leave home early to get their kids to school on time. Secretary for Education urged the demonstrators to open up the roads for students. He also thanked the teaching staff for taking up extra work in handling all the last-minute arrangements put in place because of the Occupy protests.
I would like to take this opportunity to just give credits and my honest the appreciation to the school principals, to teachers. They are so focused on the welfare, on the safety of the students. A lot of extra work and stress on them, but they are able to keep their professional standing and keep their professional position in making the normal school activities running properly.